All right. So, well, we also wanted to do a little activity. Who remembers the names of the chapters? Okay, so sorry, you can see the names right now. Why isn't it starting? What's happening? All right, so let's see. You can unmute and let us know, tell the name of the chapters, chapter 1, without looking in the books. I cannot hear anyone, so a little, one at a time, maybe. Vishal Prabhu, go ahead.
Well, the chapter 1 is observing the armies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Wonderful. Okay, anybody else? Chapter 2.
Contents of the Gita summarized.
Contents of the Gita summarized. Chapter 3. Karma Yoga. Okay, chapter 4.
Transcendental knowledge.
Transcendental knowledge. Chapter 5.
Karma Yoga again. Action in Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Chapter 6.
Dhyana Yoga.
Dhyana Yoga.
Dhyana Yoga. Very nice. Chapter 7.
Knowledge of the absolute.
Knowledge of the Absolute. And chapter 8.
Attaining Supreme.
Attaining the Supreme. Okay, wonderful. Let's come to today's class. Okay, chapter 8 is Attaining the Supreme. So let's see what has happened from chapter number 6. Krishna spoke about Dhyana Yoga, how we can attain Krishna through Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. So the focus was on Ashtanga Yoga as the means of reaching the Supreme or means of perfection in our spiritual life. Then chapter 7 started by Krishna focusing on, not in a detailed way, but in a direct way, how we can attain Krishna. So Krishna in Bhakti Yoga, how we can, that being the process, how we can attain him. And then the 8th chapter, the content of the chapter is comparing the 6th and the 7th chapter. Krishna is going to, in this section, talk about how with Yoga Mishra Bhakti, through the process of Ashtanga Yoga, how we can think of Krishna at the time of death and quit our body. Remember, let's come to the summary. So Lord Krishna answers Arjun's question from 1 to 4. So first and second, Arjun is asking what are those terms, remember? What are the meaning of those terms that he had used in the 7th chapter towards the end, the last verse. And then Krishna answers those terms. Then the last, one of the questions, which was the last question asked by Arjuna, Prayana Kale, how can one remember you at the time of death? And that is the subject matter of the rest of the chapters. So remembering Krishna at the time of death from 5 to 8, and then remembering Krishna by Yoga Mishra Bhakti is what we're going to do today. Next time, 14 to 16, remembering Krishna by pure Bhakti and material world versus spiritual world. We'll see how much we can. And the last section is supremacy of pure Bhakti, attaining Krishna. So these were the terms that were used by Krishna and then asked by Arjuna, and Krishna telling the meaning of those terms. So what is Brahma? It's the Jiva or the soul. What is Adhyatma? Is the Swabhava or eternal nature. What is Karma? The fruitive activities leading to transmigration. That is Karma. What is Adibhuta? It is the Prakriti or material nature. What is Adidaiva? Virat Rupa. Adi Yagya, it is super soul or Paramatma, enjoyer of all sacrifices. Then Atra Dehesmin, how the Adi Yagya is known in the body, in the heart of every living being. Then Prayana Kale, Katham Neyosi. How can one know you at the time of death, which is the subject matter of the rest of the word. So I'll quickly take the attendance also. Just give me 1 second. All right. So verses 5 to 8, remembering Krishna at the time of death. Let's do a little recap from the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita at this moment. First chapter, it starts from Dhritarashtra asking a question from Sanjaya, what is happening on the battlefield after my sons and sons of Pandu assembled on the Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, desiring to fight. What happened? And then Sanjay starts to speak. He starts to speak about how Duryodhan goes to his teacher, speaks the following words. He is looking at the army assembled, and then he takes names of the generals from the side of the Pandavas and then his own side. And then Bhishma Dev blows the conch shell, after which the bugles and drums, all of them started to play. And then conch shells from the other side of the Pandavas. Krishna's conch shell was, you can unmute. I'm going to ask questions in between also.
Panchajanya.
Panchajanya.
And the name of the conch shell of Arjuna?
Devadatta.
Devadatta. So those conch shells blew, and then those conch shells of the side of the Pandavas, they shattered the huts of the Kauravas, but no such impact happened when the Kauravas side conch shells blew. And then we see signs of victory, correct? And then what happens? Arjuna is telling Krishna, although he picks up his Gandiva bow ready to fight, then suddenly he says, please bring my chariot. Senayor Ubhayor Madhye, right? Bring my chariot in the middle of the battlefield. That was 1.14. I want to see who all have come to fight. And then he sees his own grandfather, his teachers, and his relatives, cousins, all of them standing before him, and he gets bewildered. He gives 5 reasons why he does not want to fight. What were those 5 reasons?
Enjoyment, how will we enjoy?
Mhm.
Compassion. The person
Compassion.
is
Starts with compassion, enjoyment, then
Sin.
Sin.
The sin will occur on us.
sin, and then
Society will degrade
society will
Degrade,
become
degradation.
degraded.
and confusion.
Yes. Okay, and then second chapter begins where he's still bewildered. First chapter, last verse, he keeps down his bow, right? He is, all those symptoms were also shown on the body of Arjuna. And then second chapter, he's still confused. 2.6, he says, I'm confused. Then 2.7, he surrenders to Krishna, takes shelter. And then Krishna starts to speak from 2.11 onwards. The first section, Krishna, the knowledge that Krishna is giving, it is the Sankhya or Jnana Yoga, where Jnana will say not Yoga, where he's talking about how we're not the body, we are the soul. Second chapter, from 2.11 to 2.30, Krishna gives this Sankhya Yoga, where he's analyzing or he's giving the characteristics of the soul and differentiating between the soul and the body. So he answers Arjun's first, it was a dispute that he didn't want to fight based on compassion. Krishna says, you cannot hurt their souls. The souls will never die. And then Krishna speaks about Sakama Karma, where he is giving his response to Arjun's second reason why he doesn't want to fight, enjoyment. He says, either you fight and you enjoy, you win and you enjoy here on earth, or you die and you go to the Swarga and enjoy there. So enjoyment is going to be there for sure. And after that, third, sin will overcome. And what does Krishna say about sin? He says, anybody remembers?
Sukha dukkhe samay.
Sukha dukkhe samay kritva. If you don't fight, then you will incur sin. As a Kshatriya, it is your swadharma to fight. So if you fight, then no sin will come upon you. And then society will become degraded. Krishna says, what does he say about that? Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. All these words that you're using coming from the Vedas, but you have to rise above the Vedas. And then the fifth one, confusion towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, when he asks Arjuna, have I clarified everything? And Arjuna says, yes, everything is clarified. Now I'm ready to do your will. Confusion goes away. All right. Third chapter begins where Krishna starts about Karma Yoga, talks about how we should be detached, how we should do our active prescribed action in a mood of detachment. And then, okay, second chapter, which is the verse where, so Krishna has sprinkled bhakti here and there, starting from the second chapter itself. So let's look at those verses now. In the second chapter, there is a verse where Krishna talks about meditation on him as him being the object. It's the first time he talks about, he brings in himself as the object of meditation.
Tani Sarva.
Wonderful. Tani sir, which verse was that? 2.61. 2.61. Bhakti verse. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. Third chapter. Let's see, where does a little sprinkling of bhakti comes? Third chapter.
Mಯಿ sarvari samyamya yukta asita matparaha vashahi yasyandriyani tasya prajna pratishtita.
I think that's
Mai sarvani karmani
Sanyasadhyatma
chetasa. You
Nirashir
mix two
nirmamo
verses.
bhutva.
Nirashir nirmamo bhukta. And
Nityasva
very nice. So that is 3.30. Fourth chapter. If you have background noise, please take care of your background noise because we won't be able to hear you, Vishal Prabhu.
Yeah, ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां सुदे भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्यपाता सर्वशः.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, fifth chapter.
भोक्ताराम यक्तस्थाम सर्वलोका महेश्वरम.
Yagya, it's not Yagya, it's Yagya. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Very nice. That's 5 point?
Bhoktaram 29.
29. Wonderful. Okay, sixth chapter.
Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam shamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami shami sachamena na
Pranashyati.
pranashyati. 6.30.
Very nice. And then 6.47 also, right? Yoginam api sarvesham matkatena antaratmana. Okay, seventh chapter begins with Krishna talking about Bhakti Yoga, not in a very detailed way, but in a direct way. What was 7.1? Anybody remembers?
Maya Saktamana Partha Yogan Janmadashrayan.
Very nice. Yes, that was. So now from in the 8th chapter, Krishna is comparing how through yoga one can come to the point where he can fix his mind on Krishna. And 7th chapter was directly Bhakti Yoga. So he's going to compare now in this section, or in this chapter, Yoga, Mishra Bhakti, and then direct, pure Bhakti. how we can think of him through these two methods. So we spoke about last section, 5 to 8, Antakale Chamameva, right? At the time of death which is the final exam. This is one of the slides from the kids Bhagavad Gita class. I really liked it. At the time of death, where it can be a surprise test for us, right? We always talk about how death is the final exam. It can be a surprise test. And at that time, we cannot ask God, just give me 1 more minute. I want to concentrate on Krishna. So we have to practice throughout our life. So this is also from their slideshow. Death is the final exam. When to prepare? It's now. What is the syllabus? It is Krishna. How to prepare? Through chanting, reading Bhagavad Gita, devotee association, serving, all those vidhis. And then when can we do it? When can we prepare? 24 hours. And what is the result? We attain Krishna and then freedom from birth, death, old age, and disease. Okay, so yeah, when to prepare? It's now. It's not after some time. It's not after an hour or 2 hours. It is right now. So it is a moment by moment choice. And it is a practice. What is the syllabus? It is Krishna. This is how to prepare. The result is attaining Krishna. Okay, so 8.5 was art of quitting the body quickly. What was the verse? 8.5. That is the art of quitting the body.
अंतकाले च मावेव स्मरण मुक्त्वा सुकलेवरम्
तस्मात् सर्वस्य
यः
कालस्य
प्रयाति समद्भाव यति नास्त्यत्र संशयः.
Okay, so, and we also have to memorize the meaning, right? So, and whoever at the time of life, end of his life, quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains by nature of this, there is no doubt. Okay, so Prabhupada says the Mahamantra, in fact, this section of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has quoted the Mahamantra 7 times, and he has said 7 times also, chant Hare Krishna mantra. So mantra connects us with Krishna, develops attachment for him. Ultimately, we are able to remember Krishna at the time of death. Just as by remembering Krishna, one attains Krishna, by remembering something else, one will attain that, which is yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajante kalevaram tam tamevaiti konteya sadatat bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fame. Okay. Another slide from the kids' Bhagavad Gita class. So, lusty person becomes a dog, lazy person becomes a bear, envious person becomes a snake, body exposing person becomes a tree, eating meat becomes a beast. And we did this story in our last class, Kailash, right? A story of reincarnation. Okay, so since the previous thoughts are cause of the thoughts at death, one should practice or do abhyas, remembering Krishna throughout life while doing his duties. Then remembering Krishna at the time of death is possible. So which verse was this? 8.7.
तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मर्य युध्यति.
Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duties of fighting with your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. Okay, and we spoke about how all these pastimes where Ajamil got a second chance, right? Reincarnation. After that, we spoke about Gajendra going back to Vaikuntha, how he remembered, right, from his past life, asking Indradyumna and all those prayers that he used to recite. And then that is what helped him in this body. Okay, today's class. So this is the supreme most level of bhakti, which is pure bhakti. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as defined by Rupa Goswami. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavitam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. We'll learn about this in more detail when we come to Nectar of Devotion. So let's look at what the definition is. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, and all other selfish desires. Okay. Now, Krishna is going to speak about Yoga Mishra Bhakti, where there is bhakti, but there is a mixture of what? Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga in it. So there might be, a yogi might be thinking of something, but his objective might be something else, right? So our thoughts can be, or our object of our thought can be Krishna, but the objective can be something else. Correct? What is the objective for a Dhyan yogi?
Liberation.
Paramatma.
Paramatma.
Objective is
For
liberation.
a Jnana yogi.
Brahman.
Attaining
Impersonal Brahman for a
Brahman.
Jnana yogi, correct? So object of thinking can be Krishna, but their objective can be something else. So, but when Krishna is both our object of thinking and also what we're contemplating on and wish to achieve, if both is Krishna, then one attains the ultimate perfection. So let's look at 8.9. Krishna says, Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram Anor Aniyamsam Anusmaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Let's have somebody read the translation.
One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Bhagavad Gita 8.9. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna says, let's look at the verse quickly. Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram. So one who knows everything, Kavim, one who knows everything. Krishna is talking about himself. Puranam, one who is the oldest. Anushashitaram, one who is the controller. Anor, who is smaller than the smallest atom. Aniyamsam, who is the one who always Aniyamsam Anusmaredya, one who can think of me like this, Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam, one who is the maintainer of everything, who is inconceivable, and always a person. He has a rupa, always a personal form. Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Aditya Varnam, Aditya is luminous like the sun. So luminous. He is effulgent Varnam. Tamasa Parastat. He is beyond this material world. So let's look at all these attributes. He is Kavim. He's the one who knows everything, or he is omniscient. Knowing that Krishna knows the past, present, and future makes us humble, that he knows all our faults, but he is also there to protect us and safeguard us and keeps us safe. I wanted to share this little reel that I came across. I don't know how I'll do it now. Just give me 1 minute. For this, I really wanted to. I think I'll email it to myself because it's on my phone. Just give me 1 minute. Kindly mute yourself. Maybe we'll watch it in the end because it might take time for it to come in the mail here and then for me to show it to you. But let me hold on. Hmm. Okay, let's see. You all can see, right? My screen? Yeah?
Yeah, it's blank.
Yes,
but we can
Mataji. Yeah.
Did you see what happened? Okay, so what happened was that father was right behind the little child and it was going, he knew that the child will jump and he's ready to hold him, right? Hold his son. And the son doesn't want anybody behind him. And he jumps, he doesn't know that he will fall and he'll get hurt. So that's our condition. We don't know what we're doing. Our actions will cause us harm in the future. But Krishna is always there to guide us and to protect us. So even when he knows in the past we've done so many faults, but still he's there to protect us. He knows that future also we can, get into trouble. So he's always there to protect. So he knows he is the knower of everything. He is Puranam. He's the oldest. So Bhagavad Gita spoken by Krishna to his disciple, the sun god Vivaswan, how many years ago? 120,400,000 years ago. So he is so old, older than that. So there is no beginning and no end. Now in this world, if somebody tells you, we have, for example, I had little problem in my foot and I asked one of my friends which is the doctor I can go to, and if she tells me this doctor is really nice, he has experience of like 70 years experience, you should go to him. Okay, that's good, but right now he must be 90 years old, right? Or maybe more. So such a doctor, how much control does he have on his own senses? So if a doctor says he has over 60 years of experience, one might feel hesitant, as the doctor being too old might have lost all control on his faculties. But Krishna then says, Anushashitaram, he has full control. Although he's the oldest, he's the controller of everything. Then he says, Anor Aniyamsam, he's smaller than the smallest. As that smallest, yesterday in our Bhagavad Gita class, we're still in the second chapter of them. And we spoke about, I think we did it in our class also. We spoke about tardigrades. Anybody remembers that minute creature which can live in any circumstance, whether it's really cold or really hot, those can survive anywhere. So we were talking about those tardigrades and how you cannot see them. They're so minute. Even under microscope, they can, but it's very difficult. There's so many other kind of living entities might not be visible even under microscope. And even in their hearts, even if they don't have hearts, Krishna is the center as Paramatma, even in their whatever minute body they have. So he is. This also comes in the Brahma Samhita. Andantarasta paramanuta chayantarastam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. All the universes exist in him and he's present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. So he's smaller than the smallest. Sarvasya Dhataram, he is the maintainer of everything. Achintya, he is inconceivable. Rupam, he has a beautiful form. And then Aditya Varnam, luminous like the sun and self-revealing, self-effulgent. Tamasaparastat, transcendental to material nature, which is full of ignorance. So all these attributes, Kavim, Puranam, Anushashitaram, Anor Aniyamsam, Sarvasya Dhataram, Achintya Rupam, Adityavarnam, Tamasa Parastat. Let's have somebody read this. It's from the purport. What Prabhupada says.
Srila Prabhupada on Achintya. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking, jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, Achintya. We cannot comprehend even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent people should accept the Vedas, avoiding useless arguments and speculation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Krishna is talking about Yoga Mishra Bhaktas who have the inclination to do Dhyana Yoga, and towards the end, when they are Dhyana, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, at that time when they want to sit and think of Krishna as the Supreme, right? But there is a mystery, there is a mishran of yoga. There is meditation on Krishna, but there is a mixture of yoga or dhyana. So how do they think of Krishna? There is no loving reciprocation there, right? In Bhakti, where Krishna is going to talk about, after this section, he's going to talk about how we can think of Krishna directly in Bhakti. But right now, this section is on Yoga Mishra Bhakti. There is a mixture of Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. How do they think of Krishna? So since there is no loving reciprocation, these are the attributes that they think about when they're thinking of Krishna. Right? So, but they are going beyond matter to the spirit or the supreme. When the yogi meditates like this, then what happens eventually? How does the process of yoga take one forward? When we say yoga, sometimes you'll see yoga coming. When it's only yoga, just keep in mind, Krishna is talking about Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. 8.10. Prayanakale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva Bhruvor madhe pranam avesha samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. Please somebody read the translation.
One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so Prayanakale, remember at the time of death, Manasa Chalena, one keeps the mind achala. Where does the achala come earlier in the Bhagavad Gita? Arjun spoke about how the mind is chanchal. Remember?
Chanchala Himana Krishna.
Chanchala
Yeah.
Himana Krishna. So, Chanchalam Himana Krishna. So, here Krishna is talking about that yogi with his mind, not chanchal. It is fixed now. It is achal. Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva. But there's bhakti also. For any, Prabhupada used to say, for any process of yoga, whether it is karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, by themselves, they cannot achieve perfection unless there is involvement of, or there is sprinkling of bhakti there. So in dhyana yoga also, unless there is some bhakti, the yogi cannot achieve perfection. So bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva. So with bhakti and the strength of yoga balena, with the strength of yoga, bhruvor madhye, in between the eyebrows, pranam avesha samyak, he brings his life air in the middle of his eyebrows, Satam Param Purusham Upaiti Divyam, that yogi will attain that supreme personal or the ultimate destination, who is Divyam, who is transcendental. So this is what is called Shat Chakra Yoga, is what Krishna is talking about, bringing the life airs from, you must have heard Kundalini, right? Where the prana or the life air is brought up, and up. So these are the names of the chakras. Muladhara is the lowest, then Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anhata, then Vishuddhi, Agya, and Sahasrara chakra. So what Krishna is talking about is bringing this life air. So center of consciousness, wherever it is in the body, it is said that at the time of death, whichever the closest hole is to that chakra or that center of, prana, wherever the prana is, the soul leaves from that hole. So if our consciousness is low, then it goes from the lower hole. And if it is higher, then it goes from either the eyes, mouth, ears, or if it is on the top, goes from the head. So yogi can meditate and bring his prana up, and up. Ultimately, when he brings it here on the Sahasrara chakra, then he can decide when to leave his body. He doesn't wait for death. He will decide where to go, when to go, and then his skull bursts open and the soul comes out from there and goes wherever he wants to. So these are the lokas. If the soul leaves from the lower chakras, here is where they go. This is what I found online. I'm not 100% sure, but it was interesting, so I brought it here in the presentation. So one who goes from here can go to Satyaloka also, but he can go anywhere else, he decides. But the highest he can go is Satyaloka. Okay. Here you can see, this is a very famous picture that is there in our Bhagavad Gita's, right? How the yogi can meditate and finally bring the prana on top and leave from the. Bhakti yoga and mantra meditation makes us spiritually strong and purifies us internally. So it's a very easy process. Krishna is going to talk about this after this section, but Prabhupada in each purport, as we know, he brings how bhakti is easier, how bhakti is sublime. Okay, so this is Shat Chakra Yoga. You can read all this we just discussed. Okay. So we all know this also, how there is the soul, then there is the subtle body, then there is the gross body. 8.11. Just another information, there are 5 kinds of air in the body. Anybody knows the names of these 5 kinds of airs?
प्राण, अपान, व्यान, उदान और समान.
Very nice. Saman, Udan. Then these are the ones which are flowing in the body, right? Making us conscious, and the soul is there within the heart. But the consciousness can be anywhere in the body based on our awareness of spiritual and material. Persons, this is in the purport also, persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkar, and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which, I'm so sorry, this is the translation. Okay, let's recite the verse first. This is 8.11. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yatayo Vitaragaha Yad Icchanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tate Padam Sangrahena Pravakshe. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkar, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. So various components Krishna is giving, or the requirements of Shat Chakra Yoga. Veda Vida, one has to be a knower of the Vedas, or knowledge of the Vedas should be there. Aksharam Vadanti, they should be uttering Om. Vita Raga, they should be renunciation, or there shouldn't be any attachments. Brahmacharyam, which is celibacy. So these are requirements of Shat Chakra Yoga. And what is the result? Vishanti Padam, liberation or entrance into Brahman. So let's keep going. At the time of death, now, how can a person, throughout his life, he has to practice so seriously and with such determination, with such discipline. Only then, at the end of his life, can he think of Krishna in all these ways, Kavim Puranam, right? All of those things, and then reach his destination. So Om and Brahman, Brahman, although is one, without second, has various manifestations. For impersonalists, its Omkar is identical with Brahman. Who can enter into impersonal Brahman? Those learn, okay, we just did that. And then Om and Hare Krishna mantra, this is the differentiating Vedic system. Students chant Om and learn of impersonal Brahman by living in complete celibacy. Modern system, no celibacy possible, so no such institution is there. Impersonal sound of Krishna is Om. If anyone quits body chanting Hare Krishna, he goes to the spiritual planet. He goes beyond the material universes to spiritual planet. So the syllable Om, Baldev Vidyabhushan and Prabhupada both say Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features. And Om represents the one indestructible Brahman. The sannyasis, having given up ignorance or Vita Raga, attain Vishanti, that Brahman full of knowledge indicated by the sound Om. Okay, you can read these notes later. How can one remember Krishna at the time of death? By Yoga Bala, which is described in the next two verses. So let's look at 12th and 13th verse. Krishna says, Sarvadvarani samyamya manohridi niruddhya cha mudhan adhyatmana pranam asito yoga dharanam. Have somebody read the translation.
The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so Sarva Dwarani Samyamya. Sarva Dwar, all the doors, Samyamya, controlling them. So here doors are the senses. So controlling all the senses. Mano Hridi Niruddhya Cha. Fixing the mind on the heart. Mano Hridi. So the mind is fixed on the heart. Now, heart here is not biological organ heart, but it is the center of consciousness. So the mind is fixed on the center of consciousness, which is the soul. Niruddhya cha. Fixing the mind on the heart and the life on the top of the head. Murdhani. So remember how we were talking about Chakra Yoga, how it is, the prana is brought on top. And then Astito Yoga Dharanam. He's situated like this. One is established in yoga, yoga dharanam. So controlling the senses from the sense objects. Remember which stage was this in the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga? Anybody remembers this?
Ahara.
Pratyahar.
Pratyahar, very good. Pratyahar. Yeah, controlling your senses from the sense objects. And at that time, a person has to leave his household life and go to the forest in seclusion. So maintaining celibacy, going to the forest, and also controlling his senses from the sense objects. So, and then closing all the doors, fixing the mind on the heart or the soul. Okay. Sarvasya Dwarani Samyama. So here we'll see line to line translation, closing all the doors, withdrawing all the senses from the sense objects, which is Pratyahar, Manohridi Niruddhya, fixing the mind on the heart, which is Dharana, fixing the prana on top of the head, and taking shelter of me completely, Yoga Dharana. Okay. And then what happens? Krishna tells in the next verse, Omiti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anushmaran yah prayati tyajandeham sayati paramam gatim. So somebody read the translation.
After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllables Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets.
So, Om iti ekaksharam brahma. Combination of the sounds, which is the Om coming to Om, which is concentration on Om, which is one syllable, ekaksharam. And Brahma here is absolute. So concentrating and reciting Om. Vyaharan is vibrating. The Ek Akshar Om, Mam Anusmara. Still, one is thinking of me. Again, Krishna is bringing how he has to bring in bhakti also. Think of me. Yak prayati tyajam deham. Anyone who lives like this, tyajam deham, quitting his body. Sayati paramam gatim. He will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Okay. So destination is the spiritual planets. And distraction in meditation is a lot. If one thinks that we can do this process, Prabhupada says, you're foolish if you can think like this. In Kali Yuga, it is next to impossible. There are people who still do in India. They go to the forest and, following all this, knowing the way, they're reading the Vedas, they are knower of the Vedas, they are adopting celibacy over there. They are chanting Om. So they're trying their best, but unless bhakti is also there within their path of yoga, they will not reach perfection, even in their path of yoga or dhyana. Okay. Here we see so many thoughts come to the mind when you're trying to concentrate it, bring it on the heart. It is very difficult. Prabhupada says, don't worry about all this, just chant Hare Krishna. For us, method is simple, it is sublime, and it is beautiful. Prabhupada says, then one should control the prana, the doors to action in the lotus of the heart, and then one should gradually, as one gains control, establish it in the Agya Chakra, and then on the top of the head, the Murdhyani Adhya, on the path of the Sushumna, moving upwards under the instruction of the Guru. Doing this, one must carry out the practice of thinking Yoga Dharanam of me from foot to head, thinking of Krishna. One should pronounce internally Om, representing Brahman, then Ma Manusmara. Is it practical for this age? No. Best process is Krishna consciousness. Fix the mind upon Krishna in devotional service. One can easily attain samadhi. Anusmara, best process is Krishna consciousness. One can easily attain it. Difference between Om and Krishna. Prabhupada says they are the same. Impersonal sound of Krishna is Om. Destination is Brahma Jyoti. Hare Krishna contains Om in itself. For one who chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra and regards personal form of the Lord, the destination is one of the innumerable spiritual planets, Vaikuntha, according to one's mode of practice. Devotees of Krishna enter Krishna's planet, which is Golok Vrindavan. Okay, so how to remember Krishna? Meditate on Krishna as all of these. This was the 9th verse, right? Kavim, Puranam, Anushashitaram, all those smaller than the Anayor, Aniyamsam, Dhataram, all those. And then Yoga Mishra Bhakti, if one practices from 10 to 13 verses that we just did. If one practices celibacy, utters Omkar, detaches himself from the senses, which is Pratyahar, thinks of the Supreme Lord, which is Dharana. When quitting the body, he reaches the spiritual planets. Okay. And this is the verse from Bhagavatam. And beautiful, if somebody wants to recite it, in its beautiful meter, it goes like this. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya. Okay, I want somebody to recite, if you would like to.
Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya.
You have to sing it.
Oh, okay. Karma shayam gratiham udagratyanti santaha tadvanarikta matayo vatayo api ruddha srotu ganas tam aranam bhajavasudevam. Can I read the translation?
Anybody else would like to
Sorry.
sing?
I can try, Mataji. Yatpada pankaja palasa vilasa bhakya karma sayam gatiyam udrabhratyanti santaha tadvam narikta matayo yatayo api ruddha soto ganastam aranam bhajavasudevam.
Thank you. Prabhu. So let's all recite it together. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karma sayam gratitam uttataranti santaha tadvannarita matayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganashtamaranam bhajavasudevam. Devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult for the non-devotees, the jnanis and the yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Okay, this is the sublime method, and so compassionately, mercifully brought to us by Prabhupada, right? It is made so easy for us to attain Krishna. Okay, here is the activity. We still have half an
Mataji,
hour.
when we were chanting, or when Shambhura Prabhu was actually singing the verse, there were bells behind, probably Ganpati, but it was such a great coincidence.
It's unbearable, Mataji. I could hardly hear anything. That's why the headphones today. There's too much of noise background, yeah.
Okay, so we'll do this. What I'll do is I'll first any question or comments before we move on to our activity.
Mataji, I have a comment, and maybe there's a question in there, but we were talking about how death is the final test, like our deaths are the final test. But I feel like when we experience the death of a loved one, that is also a kind of test. And I was feeling, that I told you yesterday that we had to put our cat down. And even though she is, even though I know that I want to have a house that is completely Suchi, so that would be requiring to have no animal. And I was hoping that that would happen at some time so that my service at the temple could increase. Still, her death became like a test for how much I am adhering to Krishna consciousness, how much my mind is going towards Krishna. And when I had to finish the rest of my japa last night, because I had to deal with the business of her passing. And it's like it was such a test of how attached I am to her, and how I can let her go, but also still have compassion for her life. And it was just very confusing in a way to have so much attachment come up. And so I guess there's a question in there about, am I failing to be completely compassionate when I try to renounce my attachment to her? I don't know. I'm so confused.
So this is natural. Our acharyas tell us, our gurujanas tell us that emotions are natural because the cat has been with you for years and years. Even for a day, if you bring a living entity in your house, there is a bonding and attachment that develops. So this cat has been with you. You told me 13 years now, and obviously there will be some attachment. So what we have learned so far in the Bhagavad Gita also is that we don't have to become emotionally dead, but we have to channelize our emotions in a way that, yes, there is emotion, there is sadness, but you channelize it towards Krishna, make Krishna the center. When the cat was, departing, there is sadness. You will feel that sadness and that void in the house also, but you can chant you must have done it. You might have chanted for the
Yes.
cat when she was leaving her body.
Yes,
So that
definitely.
she at least gets a human body. So see how much benefit there is for the cat. If it was still living right now, it would keep going in the cat's body, can't do so much. But now, for sure, Krishna would have put her soul in a human body because she was leaving her body hearing Krishna's names. So for sure, she'll have a body where she can progress in her spiritual journey towards Krishna. So having all that positivity, that perfection that a soul can achieve, with the compassion of holy name, just think about that and make that your focus, then the sadness will, come down a lot. Right? We have to just channelize your emotions in such a way that you feel happy for that soul. But there is sadness because you're missing the association. That's okay. It will happen. And Krishna says, tolerate, right? Sukha dukkha same kritva, right? Remember the verse? So we
Yes.
have to tolerate the dukkha when it comes. Somehow or the other, to tolerate, keep going on, make Krishna the center, and pray for the soul.
I love how you mentioned that, to channel that love that I feel for her, because I'm slowly realizing that every love that I have in my life for anything material, people, different things, it's all an expression of love for Krishna. And I love that. That really helps me to think of channeling when I have that feeling of love for her or attachment for her, to put that towards Krishna and feel how that is really my soul yearning for Krishna in a way that is kind of covert, and to make it more overt. So thank you for that, Mataji. That
Yeah,
really helps.
of
Thank you
course.
so much. Hare
You're
Krishna.
welcome. And also think of the benefit that that soul is now going to achieve getting a body, a human body, or a better position for sure from a cat's body.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
I can resound with your feelings because we also had similar feelings few years ago because we had a bird in the house, and she was amazing. Akira was the name, and she used to love eating Ekachi Prasadam, love hearing lectures. Whenever lecture was going on, she just sit there and quietly listen, although she was always whistling and taking out beautiful sounds. Because my son, what he did was when we got the bird, he used to play cockatiel sounds. And hearing that, she learned all of those and she used to just sing the whole day, especially when we played kirtan or bhajan. At the time of doing aarti, she was whistling because she was outside the cage all the time in the house, flying, walking around, flying around. So she was She used to, at the time of bhajan or kirtan, dance around and whistle. But when the lecture used to start, she'd just sit down and listen near the screen and so intently just be quietly listening. And we were thinking, this is such an amazing soul, which has, but, and one time she just, it was small, but she flew away. She never used to fly away, sitting on the shoulder. My daughter used to take her out also. She used to just sit on the shoulders. But one time, I remember the day I was leaving for India, our garage door was open and she was on the shoulder of my husband and she just somehow she just flew away. And we were out looking for her everywhere. There was sadness because we were feeling, obviously, association we were missing. Also, we were feeling, how will she find food anywhere? Because all her life from childhood, we've been feeding. So she doesn't know how to find food, and there are bigger birds and animals out there who can eat her. So all the while I was in the flight thinking about her, and I was so sad. But then, when we think about how much Ekachi food she had, how much she heard bhajans and lectures, she would have gotten a destination by Radharani's mercy, in a place where, not in the body of an animal or a bird now, maybe, gone to Golok Dham, who knows? Or even, maybe in a human body where she can progress or he can progress in the spiritual journey. So thinking for the betterment of that soul, we can be consoled. We can tolerate and get consoled.
Yes, and also, Mataji, whenever I would do japa in my room, I